Welcome to the Education, Training for Individuals Seeking Opportunities in the Mining Industry presentation. This presentation offers information for executives and employers on methods to recruit and train the required workforce. Please welcome your presenters, Cindy Pareigis, Employment Developer with the Métis Nation of Ontario, Carole Tanguay from MTW Employment Services, Cynthia Sueur-Aquin, President of Laurion Mineral Exploration Incorporated, and John Hatton, Director of Training and Development at Confederation College.
Bienvenue à la présentation sur les opportunités en formation et en emploi qui s'adressent aux individus qui désirent faire carrière dans l'industrie minière. Cette présentation offre aussi de l'information aux employeurs sur le recrutement et la formation de la main-d'œuvre. S'il vous plaît, veuillez accueillir les animateurs. Cindy Pareigis, promoteur en services à l'emploi pour la Nation Métis de l'Ontario. Carole Tanguay, des services à l'emploi MTW. Cynthia Sueur-Aquin, présidente de Laurion Mineral Exploration Incorporated. Et John Hatton, directeur du développement et de la formation au Confederation College.
Okay, my name is Cindy Pareigis, and I'm an employment developer with Métis Nation of Ontario. And you can't hear you. You can't hear me? Okay. Now I'm really in the spotlight. Okay, my name is Cindy Pareigis, and I'm an employment developer with Métis Nation of Ontario. And I'm here to speak a bit about the Métis mining strategy today. Okay, I'm not sure how this works. Okay, perfect. It's not working now. I clicked it a few times though, so we might have some problems. Okay, the Métis mining strategy was created because there was several gaps in shortages in the industry. There's a wide range of positions in the field of mining, so when you think of a mine, you have other divisions that you need to think about as well. The HR, IT, there's nurses, there's cooks. So it's not just the digging in the mines positions that will be created. It'll be full gamut of employment opportunities. Also, why the strategy? Due to the advanced technologies, the industry needs educated workers. And as we all know, the Aboriginal people are the largest and youngest growing population in Canada right now. The increase of the awareness of the opportunities in the mining industry, so that, as I mentioned, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for employment. Okay, in a study done by the Mining Industry Human Resources Council done in 2013, they have hiring forecasts by occupation categories as outlined there. So in the trades and undesignated occupations as of 2015, you'll be looking at over 11,000 positions going to be available. As of 2013, okay, thank you. You'd be looking at over 47,000 jobs available in just the trades and undesignated occupations. And moving on, in the professional and physical science occupations, 2015, they anticipate 1,900 jobs, but then at the 10-year range of 2023, over 8,100 jobs will be available in that sector. Human resources and financial occupations, 740 jobs as of 2015, and they anticipate that to go up to 3,100 jobs in human resources and financial occupations alone. I won't bore you with the details, but as you can see, as of 2015, it'll go up from 34,000 jobs up to 145,000 jobs. Sorry, I'm bumbling my words here. Okay, the Ontario labour market, and this is region specific, thank you. Kenora and Rainy River, the trades, there will be trades jobs, driller jobs, blaster jobs, etc. Currently little demand for people at the moment, but with the Ring of Fire, they anticipate it will create up to 1,500 jobs in 5 to 10 years. And I'm not quite sure of that timeline. Again, this was a project that did this research. As well in the Cochrane and Temiskaming area, by 2015, they anticipate 500 jobs in the trades. Development, exploration, and support activities may increase in 2014, and they need to focus on the youth in the regions to fill those gaps in the employment. Sudbury, total employment will increase by 27%, and in 2015, they anticipate 2,900 jobs in the trades, and 340 jobs in professional and physical sciences by 2015. In Algoma, it's going to be affected the most by the aging population in the next 10 years. And they'll be looking to fill between 1,500 and 1,700 jobs in the trades, professional, and physical science areas. Okay, for the Métis mining strategy under the Métis Nation of Ontario, that program is funded through the Human Resources and Skills Development Canada, and I understand that they've just changed their name, and I'm not quite sure what it is. Paula?
Employment Social Development Canada.
There we go. Employment Social Development Canada. Wow, they've changed their name so many times, it's hard to keep up. And under this funding, it provides support for education, training, and work placements for Métis, First Nations, and Inuit students who are interested in pursuing careers in mining. So it's not, although it's called the Métis mining strategy, it's open to all Aboriginal people. Okay, some of the things that we can fund through this program are tuition, safety equipment, living allowances, dependent care, so child care, travel, relocation costs, so if you have to move for the training or afterwards for a job, and work placement wage subsidies. So if after the training is complete and a position is available for that student, we can look at creating a wage subsidy with that employer to help offset the costs. And really it's a win-win situation because the student then gets a job. First of all, they get paid and the employer gets the wage subsidy. So, you know, hopefully at the end of that placement then a full-time position will be offered. Who is eligible? Again, as I mentioned, it's for Métis, First Nations, and Inuit people. And they must meet the chosen educational program specific entry requirements. Can be from high school age and up, 18 years and up, sorry. And they must have a strong interest in pursuing a career in mining. So as I mentioned before, it could be actual mining, it could be HR, it could be accounting, it could be whatever field that they're looking at, but it has to be in the mining sector. Okay, and project overview. So this program is available all over the Ontario regions, or where the training is located and the work may be located. Funding, as I mentioned before, is available for relocation and travel costs are available. And although our main focus is on Ontario and keeping jobs in Ontario, there may be some consideration for out of province. The intake process is pretty much ongoing, but we have a limit of only 30 students per year. And the funding is for a one-year program. Again, acceptance is based on eligibility for the training program and the jobs available. Eligible funding is for certificate programs and licenses, so the short-term courses. For example, Common Core, heavy equipment mechanics, welders, and drillers. As I mentioned before, there are work placements available, so the wage subsidy is available to assist with the variety of work experience opportunities, such as apprenticeships, internships, some career placement positions, as well as co-op jobs. And we can also consider postgraduate work experience. The students will seek placement opportunities with the assistance of the M&O staff. So the students aren't on their own. Their worker would be working with them to try and find those placements as well. So, and I think that's about it. Oh, the application process. If you go to the M&O website, which is www.metisnation.org, our application forms are on the website. You'd have to fill out the application, submit a resume, do a research on a chosen career. Now we have those forms at the office too, so we could mail those out or come and pick one up. So it's a little bit of a research kit. You'd have to interview people within your chosen field, whether it be in the HR or other employees doing that job, just to get an idea, ask them some questions about the position, and you'd have to get a job description and any postings. So any positions of that job that you want to pursue, any job postings in that area, as well as an acceptance letter into an education or training program for that position. So that research kit, the resume, and the application form is pretty much how you apply for the Métis mining strategy. And if you had any questions at all, Métis or the M&O staff are really helpful, and we can assist you through the whole application process if you need help at all. So, and that's it. Oh, forgot to mention, we do have a booth set up in the main area, and for the Métis mining strategy, as well as several other programs that we have through M&O. Thanks.
Great, Cindy. That was excellent presentation. Carole Tanguay, the Employment Advisor, Job Development at MTW Employment Services, is up next to speak with you. Thank you.
Bonjour à tous. Hi, everyone. I am Carole Tanguay. I'm an Employment Advisor, Job Developer with MTW Employment Services, and we service the Greenstone area. I'm very happy to be here today, and we'll share with you information on Employment Ontario services. I'm just looking over to see if my presentation is there. We also have satellite offices. We're located in Longlac and Geraldton, but have satellite offices in Nakina and Beardmore also. So basically, a job search center is who we are, pre-employment services. You can come in to see us, access to computers, internet, telephone, fax, photocopiers, programs and services in the community. We have local and regional job postings, so job boards are updated daily. Information on local labor market, employment and training opportunities are also found in our job search center. We offer a variety of workshops. They can be one-on-one or in group sessions. We also have a resource library, employment advising, which is done one-on-one, resume, cover letters, every tool you would need to put those items together. Job search assistance is there, information on apprenticeships, effective community-based referral network. If you do not qualify for our programs, we have great referral system in place and we'll refer you to the proper agency. And we also offer bilingual services. Some of the programs that we have under the Employment Ontario umbrella is a Second Career program. So if you've been laid off, Second Career will provide you financial support to help laid off workers. Ontarians participate in training for a new career. Advisors at the Employment Ontario assessment will do the assessment with you, and from there move on to the next step. Second Career has been around for quite a few years. The initiative for that program was to help laid off workers. Second Career program supports laid off individuals. If you've been laid off on or after January 1st, 2005, and you require new skills, some training, this program can be the one that we could assist you with. What does the program provide? It's a cost-sharing grant, so it's not 100% free. You are asked to participate in some of the funding as little as $50, $20 for some, and up to $28,000 is covered. The income support, tuition, and books are the priority in the program. Additional funds may be available for disability support, living away from home allowance, academic upgrading. How do you apply? Once again, you would come into any Employment Ontario offices, see an employment advisor, and they will guide you through the process. There is an application that needs to be filled out, and with that, it is then sent to the Ministry of Training, Colleges and Universities for processing, and that's where the decision will be made whether the application for the funding is approved. The wonderful thing about this program is it will cover college or private training institution for up to 2 years. So we have had wonderful people come through the program as social service workers, nurses. I mean, the list is quite extensive. One of the other programs that we have is the Ontario Self-Employment Benefit, which we refer to Linda Chipka, who is with Linda. The Superior Self-Employment Benefit Program will refer to. So if you're looking at purchasing an existing business, starting your own business, we start the application process and refer you to Linda, who is a business advisor and who comes to Greenstone and can help you with that program. So something new that has come along is the Employer Incentive Program, and that is for employers. The program can help your business by providing wage subsidy to offset training and payroll costs for new employees. Depending on the individual you hire, you may be eligible for additional support to help keep them in their new position. Does your business qualify? If you operate a business in Ontario, all you need, and you need to employ individuals whom you haven't worked for in the past, they may qualify. So they cannot be existing employees. Has to be someone, a new position. How do you get started? Simply contact your job developer to discuss your staffing needs and register yourself as an employer with the Employment Ontario offices. We can help you attract and recruit the employees with the skills you need by posting employment opportunities, helping to identify human resource skills requirement, and matching position and workplace requirements to the participant's skills, interest, experience, and so on. Recruitment support is offered, job matching and pre-screening. We'll collect resumes for you. We can sit in on interviews for you. We also have conference rooms, training meeting rooms available for employers, the free job posting within our centers, and also advice and guidance. Something new that started, I believe, in September is the Youth Employment Fund, the YEF program. Helps connect with employers and get a job placement 4 to 6 months. Again, it's out there for employers to encourage and helping hire this 15 to 29 age group. It will help the employer cover cost of wages and training for new staff, help youth cover cost. Example, transportation, tools, could be clothing for the job requirements. Can also help youth build skills, confidence, experience, and connect with employers. And that is the main goal of this program. To be eligible for the YEF program, you have to be between the ages of 15 and 29. You have to be unemployed, not attending school full-time, and a resident of Ontario. One of the other programs that we have that's available is the Job Creation Partnership. We've seen and had municipalities, local organizations take advantage of this. Temporary employment for a nonprofit organization to gain work experience and on-the-job training. And you may also receive employment insurance benefits while you're doing this program. Our information is listed here, our two main offices again, Geraldton and Long-Lac. We have a website where we post weekly job postings in the Greenstone area, and you can also find us on Facebook. We are here with a booth, and the Employment Ontario programs that we have are also here in the Thunder Bay community. So if you're from Thunder Bay, you may want to see new and yes, but if you want to further discuss any of these programs, I'll gladly see anyone at our booth. Thank you.
Our next presenter is Cynthia Sueur-Aquin, President of Laurion Mineral Exploration. Thanks.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's actually Cynthia Sueur-Aquin. And I am President and CEO of Laurion Mineral Exploration. And actually I wanted to give you a little bit of industry perspective to how we see the Greenstone region, our position in the Greenstone region, and to our perspective of what's going to be happening over the next couple of years. Laurion Mineral Exploration is the first company to fully define a significant base metal environment on our Ishkaday property in the Beardmore-Geraldton area. Our project is located up the 801, approximately 28 kilometers northeast of Beardmore. So Laurion has successfully harnessed a very rich polymetallic environment in a strategically acquired 4,042 hectare property package. Over the last 3 years, Laurion has morphed from explorer to discoverer and is currently focused, actually, sorry, Matthew. Hello, Matthew back there. Forgot. I've got to wait for Matthew to catch up. I can't multitask with slides. Okay, here we go. Our Beardmore-Geraldton camp is in its infancy comparative to Canadian mining camps in terms of exploration potential. Historical exploration campaigns throughout the Greenstone region have explored to very, very limited depths. The Greenstone region will undergo a renaissance and will be recognized for the potential to host future potential discoveries. Northern Ontario has been built on the financial strength of mining and a network of communities. World-class discoveries have maintained Ontario as Canada's leading mineral producers with a 10 billion annual production value. The 5,000 square kilometre ring of fire in the Greenstone region will be home to one of the most promising mineral development opportunities in Ontario in more than a century. the entire province will feel the impact. Laurion is very well poised in terms of location and status for this economic recovery, but the global political economy has shifted, and all of us in the resource sector have experienced the fallout from the recession. Massive changes in fundamental internal and external restructuring is occurring. It's critical to recognize that we are all, every one of us, required to undergo the mental shift and contribute to the way we conduct business in the future. While much of the world is understandably focused on today's fluctuating economic conditions, there's a looming demographic and labour market crisis in many sectors, which has the potential to shake the very foundation of our future economic development. This looming demographic labour market crisis seen in many sectors is also very prevalent in the Greenstone region. The resource sector has faced many boom and bust cycles in the past, but the nature of the problem that we are seeing in the last 2 years is more deeper and systemic than anything the mining industry has ever grappled with before. Without effective action, our resource sector and many other sectors face a future with large numbers of unskilled workers looking for jobs that require skills they do not possess, and a large number of jobs that are going to go unfulfilled. The mining industry will return. It's based on two words, supply and demand. I'd like to ask one question of many of the CEOs, that how many CEOs or company owners, as part of a strategic rethink in this market crisis, have, like me, been impacted with the realization of the critical need to change our role and responsibilities beyond the realm of just being accountable for the performance and results of our corporations, according to individual mining and exploration goals and visions, measures and standards of diverse and often competing external stakeholders. The bottom line is that CEOs' roles have to change, and we have to offer more structured decision-making, existential and creative management. Industry CEOs need to acknowledge that a new generation of leadership and concerted efforts to shape a corporate culture in the regions of our business ventures are supported of the goals of sustainability that ultimately underpins our success in a new era. CEOs are required to be articulate in new ways. We have to find some connection between our own passion and values and ideals that both energize our staff and bring passions of the larger society to the organization and the work, and get personally involved in communities when a significant financial and symbolic value is at stake. Action on sustainability issues has shifted from being a discretionary choice to a corporate priority. So Laurion's mission vision statement is to monetize our assets and discoveries. We fully recognize that our assets are not just our projects and our mineral resources, but our investment in communities. Laurion's community investment strategy is to be involved and invest in skills and development and educational programs for our Aboriginal groups and the communities who are affected by our project. We recognize that the strategy brings tactical implications to communities. In terms of the mining policy framework, it brings an aspect of consultation and balancing of interest to the table far earlier in the curve of exploration plans and permitting. It creates an early alliance and forges relationship with Aboriginal groups at the exploitation, planning and permitting stage. It brings a higher level of integrity to both community and Aboriginal relations, and it achieves a model for skills and labour development objectives, and most importantly of all, this objective will stimulate the exploration and service industry, triggering critical economic multipliers in our local communities and prepare our industry and the province so we can truly benefit from the most promising mineral development opportunity in Ontario. So considering Greenstone's proximity to mining operations, it's expected that the predominant occupation in the resource class belongs to occupations unique to forestry operations and mining, with skills that will also be essential to construction and operational industry phases for the development of the region. So Laurion and North Star Drilling has, as vested and willing industry members, are committed to partnering with the Greenstone Labour Market Working Group working towards the goals of developing key programs with the following objectives: to design an educational program foundation covering a range of industry transferable skills, to provide students with the freedom to explore and obtain multidisciplinary perspective while they acquire a knowledge of fundamental skills, increase programs aimed at enabling the Greenstone Aboriginals to gain the skills necessary for knowledge work in various key industries, thus expanding career awareness by offering more work opportunities in the region for students and enhance partnerships with Aboriginal communities and industry. The basis of the primary educational skills program will be along the lines of that designed by the nationally recognized Mining Industry Human Resources Council, and this will be called the Mining Essential Program. The program endorses the objective of increasing involvement and engagement of our Aboriginal communities and provides work-ready and essential skills required to gain meaningful employment in a range of trades such as forestry, mineral exploration, environmental monitoring, and camp management, as well as heavy equipment operations. The Mining Essentials Program has been customized and renamed the Resource Essentials Program. The objectives of the Resource Essentials Program was to address the short-term challenges in our educational program and regional labour requirements, with the added goals of developing methodologies to monitor and assess the supply and demand skills for our area and address the skills requirements by broadening the Resource Essentials Program as a springboard to other added skills programs. The Resource Essentials Program instills confidence, brings culturally relevant learning experience, strengthening academic skills, and bridges the gap to make post-secondary programs more accessible. Once the Resource Essentials Program is successfully completed by the student, opportunity for skills development and other programs will be available, such as the heavy equipment operator, environmental technician, certified field arborist, surface diamond driller helper, prospectors program, and camp operations program. Moving forward, Greenstone Labour Force Strategy will align the labour market activities of all stakeholders, leveraging its secondary and post-secondary systems to produce the next generation of expertise centred on three themes. Workforce development, workforce attraction through relevant education programs, and workforce retention. That's the most important. The Greenstone Labour Market Working Group is currently working on developing relationships with post-secondary partners and the Ministry of Training, colleges and universities to expand mining-related programming at the Geraldton campus, including mining techniques and other mining engineering programs. Identifying and expanding on partnering with other institutions for including additional programming with business, forestry, engineering, health sciences and hospitality. Undertake workforce development strategy that specifies a target for the number of jobs and types of occupations to be established in Greenstone. Outlining educational and career pathways targeted at Francophone and Aboriginal communities and strategies for attracting and integrating new workers into the community and involving, and I think this is the most important point of all, involving our aged community as mentors. Encouraging retired workers to take on this role is an excellent way for employers to ensure extended knowledge transfer and monitoring of younger workers. It also creates a niche of employment opportunities for retired and semi-retired workers. Many challenges still have to be faced before our market forces can truly be aligned with sustainable development. Industry in the region will now need to take their place at the table and together with local government and stakeholders in order to develop a labour market strategy for the Greenstone region. Developing an educated and skilled labour force is a shared responsibility between provincial government, industry, employers, schools, community-based organisations, post-secondary institution and private sector training providers. Job creation and workforce retention is the most critical aspect, particularly in the early cycle of skills training and development. Both government and the private sector have acknowledged that they need to come to the table with money for regional development and infrastructural requirements. The challenge will be on determining how best to share the associated costs. And thus we have a chicken and egg situation. I do believe that higher level of government is required to deploy additional creative financial incentives to not only influence industry and other stakeholders to the table, but to stimulate and support the ailing exploration industry that is primarily dependent on investor support. In the short term, and that is the first 10 years, the Ring of Fire is projected to generate up to $9.4 billion in GDP and nearly $2 billion in government revenue divided between the federal, provincial, and municipal governments. In the long term, that's 32 years, the Ring of Fire is projected to generate province-wide over $25 billion in GDP and $6.7 billion in government revenue divided between federal, provincial, and municipal governments. By my count, there is approximately 5 development stage companies that are approximately 5 to 10 years away from production, and approximately 50 exploration companies in the region, excluding prospectors and private companies holding projects located in the Beardmore and Ring of Fire area. Many of these exploration plays are fly-in operations. So the Ring of Fire mining developments and impacted Greenstone region is poised to experience an unprecedented growth in the next 5 to 10 years, requiring approximately 7,000 to 8,000 workers in the mining industry alone, with a projected growth up to 17,000 by 2021. Government's first step from strategy to execution was the announcement of the $3.5 million in funding for the Regional Skills Centre earlier this year to help address the regional labour needs. Ultimately, Greenstone Regional Skills Centre will serve as a hub for regional labour force training opportunities, and it will provide a long-term solution to developing and maintaining workforce to support the mining, natural resources and related industries. But again, without reciprocal industry involvement, employment opportunities will not be created. Finally, Canada has enormous wealth of natural resources, from the world's third largest proven oil reserves to vast natural gas fields, tremendous hydroelectric capacity, massive tracts of forests, and abundance of minerals and metals. Greenstone's natural resources and the wealth that it will generate is capable of giving our region the quality of life that is second to none. We just need to capture that opportunity. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Cynthia. Our next speaker is John Hatton. John is the Director of Training and Development at Confederation College. At the conclusion of your presentation, we'll do a short question and answer. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for previous speakers, and it kind of sets me up well in what I'm going to be saying. Interesting, training always needs funding, and the two first speakers identified that. The other thing that is critical in any training venture is talking to people like Cynthia about what the employer needs. Why should her company pay anybody an hourly wage to do a job that they want to do? And as I heard the Chief Executive Officer for Laurion Resources say, we make no excuses. We are in this business to make money. That's not a bad thing. Would you want to work for a company that lost money? So I think it's really critical that we look at both sides of the coin. In my presentation, which will come up in a second, will identify how the college, Confederation College, takes a look at this partnership and understanding the business to provide training that makes employers happy to pay those people money to do the jobs they're going to do. And I see a number of young people in the audience. I think, how do they fit into the picture? We ready for the presentation? Okay, and what I've titled this is Aboriginal Workforce Development. And we do an awful lot of work in relation to training First Nations people around getting jobs. And we have an interesting model that I'm going to try to share with you, and love to have some input and direction. The first question I'd like to pose to you, and I have economic development with a question mark, and what I mean by that is at some point everyone has to decide whether they want to be involved in the economic development. And we talk about words like sustainable, and I think that's the first question everyone has to ask. When you do economic development, there are risks involved. You know, do you want a bulldozer on your land? Do you want people drilling holes in your land? But the point is, at some point, all communities have to decide if they're in control and they do want economic development in their community. Once they decide that, then they can move forward, and not until then. So I just wanted to throw that out first. That's really important for any community to look at. Do they want to stay where they are, or do they want to change? Now you see our logo. Interesting, and if anyone here reads syllabics, I hope those syllabics say learning. And that's what it's all about. It's not only the learning of the students, it's the learning of the communities and learning of Confederation College. We go into this every time with an open mind, trying to identify why we're doing this and what we want to do in our training endeavors. So learning is critical. And the three elements to success are those components. If we miss one of them, we fail. We look at the community first, and that community can be a community of interest or a First Nations reserve. It can be a community like Beardmore. Unless we talk to those people and understand what they need, then we're wasting our time. The other component are the employers, and I look at someone like Cynthia's company, Laurion Resources, Barb Court's in attendance here from North Star Drilling. What do they need? What are they looking for an employee? What is the profile? They've got a business to run, and if we don't understand what their needs are, our training is useless. And the third component is the education component, and that's where we come in. And we try to identify, talking to the community, talking to the employer, what are the needs of those two groups, and try to match them, and then everybody's going along. We use a model called training to jobs. It's pretty silly to train people, and think of any of you going to school or learning educational courses. It's nice to learn, and that's fabulous, but our model at this point, our goal is to train to jobs. And we have a model, and I'm going to go through that with you. We look at the values model. And the one thing out of all those values I want to highlight is we do not sacrifice academic excellence. In other words, we don't run a program so it's just good enough for the community here, just good enough for these people. If you're going to be working on a diamond drill or working in underground on a scoop tram or a piece of heavy equipment, it's not good enough to say, I took a kind of a watered down course and that's what I'm giving you. The academic excellence is critical. We learned that in dealing with training carpenters out of Sueur-Aquin with SLAM. You know, when you're a carpenter on a job, they don't care who you are or where you're from. You better be able to build a building that has the proper specifications. Okay? So there are four elements to our, so there's values that we have around it, the pride, the cultural awareness, all that type of thing, which is pretty common. But we take a look at these elements, and I'll go through them: employer needs, the assessment, preparation, and actual training. And notice we start off, and this time and time again, and we've learned through many projects that this is critical. Employer needs are the first thing we start with. We talk to companies. This is a picture taken up at Lac des Îles, North American Palladium. We ran an underground Common Core program there in partnership with North American Palladium and Gull Bay First Nation and AETS, Anishinaabe Employment and Training Services. What are you looking for? What kind of people do you want? What skills? Do they know what the job is? So you've got to interview those people and build those things into the curriculum that you teach. And you know, going to the facility, you know, anyone knowing the Lac des Îles site, when you work there, you live in a camp. You don't go home every night. Is that something you want to do? And I look at these young people here, do they know that when they go into the job? So we have to find out all the prerequisites. One of the big issues, and this is sometimes taboo to talk about, but when you work in this particular facility, before they let you through the gate, and that included me, they do a criminal records check and a drug and alcohol check. If you fail, you don't get in. That's not the college rule, that's the employer rule, and that's right, wrong, and different. That's the way it is. So employer needs are critical. The next part, and this just hit me yesterday, I was on a conference call with Hydro One. Hydro One just announced a $750,000 program to train technical people for their workforce needs, just as Cynthia has mentioned about the declining workforce. So they were critical in saying, you know, who wants to work as a lineman with Hydro One? You're away from home, you're working out in the cold, you're dealing with high voltage electricity. It's not for everyone. So we think it's more and more important, and every time I do a presentation like this or talk to people, You've got to get the right people for the right job, okay? So we use many various things. We do academic, it's something called Test of Workplace Essential Skills, which is not the best, or it's just a tool we use to make sure that if someone is going into a trade or a technical profession, they have the suitable academic preparation, math, English, whatever it is. The other thing is aptitude, and there's a picture of some underground diamond drillers. And that's, again, not for everybody. So do you know what job you're getting into? Preparation, the next stage. So once we've assessed people, we're not trying to screen people out, but they're trying to make sure that you get there, and if you need a little bit of work. Another example is a program I'll show you later what we did with Gold Corps. So preparation means usually classroom stuff. It's usually preparation around, it can be anything from basic literacy skills in reading, writing. When you work for a company, you have to do safety reports. You have to fill out incident forms. You have to be able to do those things. So it's really critical to have those academic skills to do the job. And employers, generally what they're saying is they look at a minimum of grade 12 as an entrance. And that is a barrier as well. So we're trying to deal with that, and I'll show you a program we do that helps with that. So then, and only then, you've taken the first 3 stages. You've talked to employers, you've assessed people, you've prepared them, then you get into technical training. And this can be something as simple as line cutting, but you get into more technical trades like electrical, instrumentation, those type of things. It's really critical. So we use this model to everything. So assessment is critical. So when you're going into a job, you know what you're getting into and you're ready for it. You've seen this slide before 100 times, but it talks about the number of jobs. Mining isn't all one thing, but also if you look at that black sliver, there's only about 5% of jobs available in the mining industry where you can do without grade 12. Now there are jobs, yes, and there are ways you can get in. But bottom line, we're looking at university, college, or at least grade 12. Many colleges and universities are running all kinds of programs now in response to the needs for workers in the mining sector. So think about that, and again, if you're advising people, the first thing we tell them is, if at all possible, get your grade 12, because it's critical. Lac des Îles, again, won't hire anybody. The next slide shows something that we have done is called the ACE program, Academic and Career Enhancement. It's now being recognized. We've all heard of GED and the typical grade 12, but ACE is being recognized by more and more employers. It's a much more applied use. It's an easier way to do it. It's developed online. So again, as a college, we can provide that readiness through academic career enhancement, the ACE program, to prepare people and have a quality. As an example, we do a railway conductor program. I just had a meeting with CN and CP. They both recognize it and probably like the ACE program better than GED. So that's a good thing, but it's critical to do that. You've got to build up your skills in order to be eligible to train. Right, wrong, that's just the way it is. Cynthia mentioned transferable skills. As I said, we're just doing a project with Hydro One. We've worked with OPG. A lot of these skills that you have, if you're educated in those areas, can be used in other jobs. You think about the things that are happening in the area, everything from the Energy East project with TransCanada Pipelines to energy transmission with NextTech. There's lots of jobs available. If you're running a bulldozer, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're running a bulldozer. You can work for many people. If you have abilities as a safety leader, there's lots of jobs you can work in other than the mining sector. So think about that as you do your training. You're preparing to work in the mining sector, which might not be here for 5 years, but there may be other jobs you can do in the interim. As it was said earlier, Burla in Terrace Bay is hiring people. They're looking for high-risk truck drivers, the pulp truck drivers. So all those things are transferable to the mining industry. I see that every day when I look at the number of people that work in Thunder Bay in the forestry industry, 5 mills running here, and all of a sudden a forester or someone that worked in a manufacturing sector had the skills to move in. They didn't want to, but they had to. And it's interesting how they looked at the skills they had and say, yeah, we can use mapping skills as a forester in mining. We can use GIS skills in mining. So it's really good to see that. So transferable skills are something you should think about. And again, everyone says if and when the Ring of Fire happens, it doesn't matter. There's still jobs available that you can use skills that could be applied to mining later. Just looking at some of the things we do, surface diamond drilling, and we do this again, talk a lot to the employers. We have not run a surface diamond drilling program in the last 8 months because there are no jobs available, getting back to our model of training to jobs. We think that's picking up. There's more contracts being let in the region. I know Barb's doing some work with Treasury Metals down around Wabigoon. There are other things opening up. and people have to explore to get results to show the investors to make money. So the surface diamond drilling, we do 10 people at a time. Again, we talk to people before they get into this because it's, for some people, a wonderful job, others not so good. Basic line cutting, that's a basic first step in a lot of exploration activity in the mining business. And again, there's a big difference between mining exploration and mining itself, two different types of sectors. Basic line cutting, again, might be an entry level for other jobs to get into the mining sector. You still need to do, basic mathematics when you're cutting grid. There's nothing worse than a mining company coming in and found out their grid is not quite right, and I'm sure many people have seen that in the business. It's an exacting work. It should be done properly. Again, excellence in what you do. So if someone is a good worker, they understand they've got all their safety training, they can move into some prospecting or other types of things. So that's the basic line cutting. The other thing that we do, which I think is important, and again, referring to some of the younger people in the room, the First Nations Natural Resources Youth Employment Program. You've got to start thinking about these jobs early. So we run this program in partnership with Outland Resources, funded through the Ministry of Natural Resources, and it is an excellent program to get people exposed. How do you know about jobs unless you have a family member or someone there? So we take these students over an 8-week period in the summer, expose them to natural resources type of jobs, everything from prospecting to tree planting, and again, build up some skills, some work ethic, and also some ideas. So that's really a good program, I think, for them. Mining Essentials was mentioned. Getting back to this whole partnership, you've got to talk to other people. Mining Industry Human Resource Council, MIR, the organization out of Ottawa, and they assist us. They have a curriculum for Mining Essentials, which has what we call basic employability skills. A lot of these things, you're punished in that program as far as your marks for attendance. It's really critical to show up to work on time when you're supposed to, and this is part of what they teach. Again, the work ethic, the how to get along in teams, all those things that the MIR program does, and that's something we've done with them. And there are some of our instructors that have done the program through MIR in Ottawa at the, in partnership with the Assembly of First Nations. This is one interesting project we just did with Goldcore Musselwhite. Some of you may see the display for Wendigo Catering out in the display area. Wendigo Catering has won a national award, the Jim Skookum Award, but they hire a lot of First Nations people from the signatory communities to their impact benefit agreement. Those people come into Wendigo Catering, but they're not the great jobs. They want better jobs that pay more money. So Goldcore Musselwhite looks at selecting people, again, the selection assessment, people that can work in that mine setting, work on the rotations of in and out type of thing, and then they work in the mine as miners, and then they select them for apprentices. And these 4 young people here were selected as apprentices, but before they get into their in-school apprenticeship training, we spent 20 days with them, solid, 20 days straight, doing math and English. And we apologize, saying it's going to be boring, you're not going to like it, but unless you learn this stuff, you're going to fail your apprenticeship when you get into the classroom, whether it be electrical, mill writing, etc. And that's Adele Faubert there in the picture, who is their Aboriginal Affairs Coordinator with Musselwhite. She supports the program, and again, it works for them. They were not having too much success in graduating apprentices, and we did a group of 4 last time, and all 4 passed their certificate of qualification. You've got to prepare people. You can't just throw them in and expect them to pass. They don't. Another MOU we have with a company called Whiskair, again, understanding that part of the getting to these remote places, you go into helicopters. There has to be some basic training into access and egress, how to take things off slings in helicopters. The college can't afford to buy a helicopter, so we partner with Whiskair. It helps them. They work with the First Nations groups, and when they come into their machines, they're safe, and again, safety is a huge thing in the mining industry. So that's another example of talking to the employers. Some specific programs we did with some of the folks from Webbequay. Again, diamond drilling, and that was in coordination with Sear Drilling up in Webbequay. And then actually they had stopped drilling, and we took them down to the Bending Lake Iron site with North Star Drilling to do some of their hands-on stuff there. Again, hands-on training is critical. They have to know what they're getting into. Diversity, for those of you in the room that are female, it is wide open. We have trained female drillers. There's lots of good examples of miners in some of the mines. geotechs, etc. This woman sitting to the left of me is a good example, is a mining engineer and has worked underground extensively and a good role model. And as we got Barb Court as a role model for women in mining. So we're looking at these options are open to anybody. And there's a great chapter of the Women in Mining group, which is a national group in Thunder Bay in northwestern Ontario, very active and do lots of interesting things. There's lots of women in mining in here now. The future, again, that's the class from the First Nations Youth Employment Program. Again, something to think about. Each community, and again, it's a shared responsibility where communities pay some money for those students to come there, but we see great changes. They've learned a lot. We've learned a lot from them about what they need, what their barriers are. When we run programs, everything from income support, daycare, we have to make it possible for people to learn and come into our programs. And that is it. Thank you very much. And I think the whole panel is available for questions if we have time.
I just have a friendly comment, and it really means, I'm an old lady, and I've noticed that in the last 15 years, the lady that made the long speech, it could have been said in 3 minutes, and it's terribly difficult to listen to everything because it's all predictable, and it didn't feel that there was any new knowledge coming out of it. I don't know if the young people will have to live with this kind of language in the future.
I'm not sure I understand the question, and
Well,
maybe...
the question is, are you, because in my generation, nobody ever spoke like that, is this the way we're going to speak in the future?
Is that directed at Cynthia, or?
Yeah, off to the lady, I'm sorry. Yeah, because I thought it must be very difficult for you, but for somebody who's listening,
I think the answer is yes, but I'll let Cynthia answer that.
and I want to know why.
I think first of all, I was brought here today from an industry perspective in the Greenstone region to give my perspective on how I saw my role as a CEO, the lack of skills in the area, being involved with skills development, and how and all the pitfalls that I currently see in economic conditions. So it wasn't essentially long-winded. It was putting before you all the aspects that industry is dealing with in terms of skills development and the educational facility. So it might have kind of boggled your imagination, but I think that in some ways it... Well, I apologize for that. It's an industry perspective, and I think it's far better for me to spell it out how it is than to tell you that as industry we are available to employ people immediately when economic conditions are against us. So.
I just want to say the opposite. I found it very informative, and I appreciate for your comments and what you said. And in regards to the youth here, my question was going to be, how do you get youth involved and how do you get them to recognize there's huge opportunities coming up in the future in regards to mining? And I think by seeing all these young people here today is a good start. And they need to understand that these jobs are there and they can make the money. I know I used to go make some presentations at the high school with some of the troubled youth. And in my old role and responsibility, I looked after collective agreements. I would take those agreements in and show them that they can make $30 an hour. They can make time and a half. They can make double time. But I'd also put a nice picture of a Mustang or a Corvette, something that they want to work towards and have. And then when you justify that, what they're looking at today, and they can show that they can make a good money and good living at it, I don't know if I changed anybody's minds, but it's the aspect. And I looked at, everybody texting. Well, everybody wants the latest, newest model in regards to that. They need to understand that these are good paying jobs. There's good money there. You can make the money. You can have a decent living. You can have the toys that you want to work towards. Your values will change as you get older and get married and have kids and all that. But today the focus is in regards to having, for a lot of young men anyways, I don't speak. But anyways, I know when I was younger, it was that brand new car. I wanted that car. I wanted to have that toy. But anyways, I appreciate again, what everybody's doing in regards to getting youth to recognize mining. I think it's so huge that they understand that they can stay here in Northern Ontario, they can have those opportunities, and employers look at that too. They don't want to bring somebody in from down east or down out west or south or wherever, bring them up here to work because they know they're going to leave. The people that are here, that are trained here and committed here, will stay here, and that's their future. Their families are here. They'll make a living, and they'll use this as their home base. So anyways, thanks.
Thank you for those comments, and again, I think we all have to do a better job, and again, communicating, talking to youth, talking to people who want jobs. Like I said right at the start, though, economic development comes with risk. So having that new car means what? You know, you have to, you look at that North American Palladium, anyone who hasn't seen the open pit there, it's a pretty big scar on the earth. Is that the right thing to do? What are the environmental impacts, et cetera? But if it's done correctly with the input of communities, we win. And to answer this woman's question about information, I think we're in a different world than we were 25 years ago. So yes, we do speak differently. And I think people have to learn those issues. And sometimes repetition is not a bad thing. You know, you can... Yeah, and that's why I said it at the first. I wasn't sure what your question was. But I think the more we talk about this, the better we all will be off. And again, our message from a, an academic institution is learning. You know, it won't go to waste. We'd like to tie it to jobs. And again, we cannot do that without the people that employ those students after. And that's the critical part. And I will, as a college, we continue to coordinate, discuss, negotiate with private sector companies and make sure that we're filling those workforce voids in a positive way. And again, the mining industry has changed. So thank you very much. If there are any other questions, we'll be around as well.
My name is Barb, and I own North Star Drilling and Cobra Drilling, and I wanted to talk to the kids to tell them that when I first started working in Greenstone, nobody knew about mining. And I believed in Greenstone, I believed in the people that live there, and we started a drill helper program with Confederation College. From that program, if you look at most of the guys that were in the pictures for the drill helper were my employees that come from Greenstone. And I'm really proud of these guys. They've come in, most of them were unemployed. They did the course, and a lot of those guys are making anywhere from $80,000 to $140,000 a year. I'm putting a dollar value on it. But they work hard. And those are things, those are goals for you guys. It's not for everybody. Drilling is not. But there's so many other jobs out there, and just remember that. So I wanted to put a price on it, because right now the mining industry is quiet. It is getting busier, but you guys are our future. So if ever you want to talk about drilling or mining, I'm here. Come and talk to me, because you guys are our future, and you guys are important. So just try to give you a little guidance, and you could be anything you want.